promising presentations today. So thank you for joining our panel on language, linguistics, and culture. Our first panelist today is Anna Lelenkova from St. Petersburg University in Russia. And she's presenting on teaching a foreign language as an important means of international collaboration.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. I'm Anna Lelenkova. I'm from St. Petersburg, Russia, and I'm a lecturer of St. Petersburg State University, the Faculty of Asian and African Studies. I'm specialized in Japanese studies, so I'm a lecturer of Department of Japanese Studies. Firstly, I'd like to present my university and my faculty just in brief. My university is the first one and the oldest one in Russia. It was founded in the first half of 18th century, and it has a great history, and you may see the figures. We have a number of Nobel Prize winners as well. The most famous one is Joseph Brodsky in literature, and also among the worldwide known and famous scholars is Dmitry Mendeleev, the inventor of periodical law and periodical table of elements, and among the worldwide known graduates is the President Putin, who graduated the Faculty of Law, yes. And my faculty, my Department of Asian and African Studies were founded in the middle of 19th century, and we also have a great history of studying and teaching and learning of the Japanese language and Japanese studies in St. Petersburg. And I'd like to note that the Japanese studies have started its history in St. Petersburg and my university as well, because at that time St. Petersburg was the capital of the Russian Empire. So we have a long tradition of Japanese studies, and I'm proud to be a part of here and to be a part of St. Petersburg State University as well. And today I'm going to talk on some features of teaching the Japanese language at my department, and also some problems of motivating factors and motivations to start learning Japanese in Russia, and yeah, and some other aspects maybe. So the 21st century's realities, with its process of globalization, have a significant impact on the features of the modern teaching methodologies as well, and taking into account the importance of international collaborations for further development of political, economic, cultural, and other relations between different countries, we should pay attention and more attention to the problem of working out the appropriate methodology of teaching a foreign language as well. And as we all know, historically, language skills have been used not only as a mean of making a conversation, but also as a key, some kind of key, for better understanding the way of thinking and some specifics of mentality of the other people as well. So the cross-cultural understanding in its turn may help to build up a constructive conversation between nations. In the case of Japanese language, teaching and working out teaching methodologies is of high importance, as the Japanese people at all times have been known as one of the most closed nations in the world. And in order to work out the right strategy, maybe of a new teaching methodologies of the Japanese language as correctly as possible, firstly it's necessary to point out the problem of assessing the main motivating factors that students follow when they choose the Japanese language as a specialized one. And at the same time, the problem of assessment can be analyzed, the assessment of motivations can be analyzed from 2 points of view, from the positions of students and from the teacher's position, which is meant to increase and regulate such motivations. Yes. And I'd like to point out 2 questions which were asked, which are the students of the Faculty of Asian and African Studies and the International Relations were asked. And the questions are: what kind of motivation do students follow to start learning the Japanese language, and what foreign languages skills might be most requested in the 21st century? Here I'd like to present some results of this interview, of this public opinion poll. The most popular answer about the motivations and motivating factors is the desire to work for Japanese companies, carrying out their activities either in Russia or in Japan or in other foreign countries. But before talking on results, I'd like to mention that these results may be true not only for Russian students, but maybe for other foreign students and for students for some other Western countries as well. Indeed, since the early 2000s years, there has been a significant increase in the number of representative offices in Russia of such famous Japanese corporations and companies as Sumitomo, Mitsui, Nissan, Toyota, Toshiba, and others. And this answer, and this the first one, motivating factor, is based on the growing importance of the economic issue in the development of Russian-Japanese relations over the past decades. And moreover, in conditions of rapid development and introduction of new technologies in the beginning of the 21st centuries, students are increasingly interested in the country which has proved to itself as the world's leading producer of such products. The opportunity to become a part of Japanese companies specializing in the industrial and technological sphere is maybe one of the strongest motivating factors. The next one is the everlasting interest in Japanese culture. And here it worth noting that the Japanese culture, students mean not only the worldwide popular phenomenon as Japanese pop culture, but also traditional Japanese culture, including classical Japanese literature as well. And a large number of students are interested in the ability to read, for example, manga or to watch anime in original language, and that allows getting learned more about the features of spoken language as well. But at the same time, it's noteworthy that the interest of the younger generation in Russia in the work on translating and researching the cultural monuments of the past of Japan is growing again, and because of its uniqueness. So the cultural factor has been been very strong at all times. Then the possibility of doing diplomatic activity on Japanese-Russian relations issue is also worth noting, and due to strengthening and intensifying the political dialogue between the two governments, many students has become interested in diplomatic activity. Yes, diplomatic activity, and the case is that maintaining a dialogue between any countries in their native languages, in the native language of their partners, can greatly accelerate the process of political rapprochement between two parties. And it also contributes much to a partial removal of barriers existing due to the cultural and mentality difference between the people of different nations as well. And it's also necessary to pay attention to one more motivating factor, although less mentioned by students, but not less important. The case is that over the last decades, there has been an increasing number of opportunities for participating in international training and fellowship programs. And it's also known that participation in international training programs contributes significantly to getting new academic links, figuring out new joint researches, as well as building up an international professional communication. And it's extremely important in the age of globalization. So students, for students as for future specialists, such an opportunity might be very useful and can be seen as a strong motivating factor as well. So as for results for the next question about foreign languages skills, we have the following results, and due to these results, I think it's also maybe true not only for the Japanese language but also for other foreign languages as well, and taking into account the above opinions of students, and we may conclude that the study and teaching of the Japanese language and the foreign language as well require a comprehensive approach. So here we have a problem of figuring out and improving the teaching methodologies, which have to be on the constant pace. So in case of the Department of Japanese Studies at my university, the Japanese language course is being taught in the type of different aspects. We have different aspects of language teaching, such as Japanese writing, Japanese grammar, spoken language. Spoken language is usually taught by native speakers, and then the Japanese media, translation of Japanese fiction, historical text, science text, then old Japanese language like Kanbun and Bungo Tai, old literature, Japanese language. But I'd like to point out today, I'd like to point out your attention maybe on two or not only to some aspects. For example, Japanese writing and Japanese grammar are being taught the first year, and such aspects like Japanese media, translation, historical texts are being taught 3 or 4 years bachelor degree and bachelor program. And in our view, such aspects like Japanese media, translation of fiction and historical texts, modern historical texts, of the great importance because, for example, the printed press is one of the most important means of information dissemination and consequently the formation of reality in the mind of common people. So the media has a difficult task of prioritizing certain words or events. And for Japan, this statement is especially true because there has been a long tradition of determination of the character of the year in Japan and making the list of the most frequently used popular words, so-called Ryuko words. And the study of annual changes in these lists makes it possible to imagine a clear picture of the changes in the social and the political life of Japan over a period of time. Here is I'd like to present the main task of teaching the Japanese media and modern historical text. But while you're reading these tasks, I just try to comment, to make some comments. The study of such phenomena as popular words and neologisms in Japanese also plays a significant role and for a role in translation and interpreting activity and it also helps much to acquire skills in spoken language and in spoken language for verbal communication as well. And such subjects as a modern historical text provides reading and working with the text on historical issues written in modern Japanese, and the content of the research text covers mainly the main problems of the history of Japan and world history as well. So one of the most important points of teaching the aspect is to work on translation of documents, for example, joint statements, treaties, agreements, and some others. And the case is that such documents have a certain lexical and grammatical base on which documentation is being drawn up to the present day as well. When studying these aspects, it's almost impossible to rely on definite teaching materials, since they quickly become out of date. So, in this regard, teacher of Japanese has to teach students how to work properly with the text using, for example, auxiliary sources like the internet resources and others. It helps to analyze information and work with lexical and physiological material both in Japanese and in their native language. And it also allows to compare the terms and expressions in both languages and to develop a terminology base as well. So, and in order to avoid inaccuracies in translating some terms or contents or concepts, it's very important to develop skills of conceptual translation. And this is the goal. This goal cannot be achieved without study of some historical or modern society realities. So this is the goal of comparative study and analysis of materials in both native and foreign languages as well. For the development of a more complete understanding the foreign language learning, having just lectures or practical lessons are not enough. In addition, one can use the news, reports, documentaries or movies. And this type of training contributes to the development of listening and comprehensive skills. And the visual comprehension makes it possible to get a proper interpretation according to the context. And by all means, it contributes much in getting familiar with the realities of the foreign people's life. Also, interactive lessons using modern technologies are playing the more and more important role in teaching methods, as they allow explaining the new materials in an easy and accessible way. Moreover, the popularity of multinational online seminars and conferences is constantly increasing in recent times as well. And it's known that having live communication with native speakers help to switch on so-called the theoretical memory and the lexical and grammatical base that has been known. It helps much to use it in practice as well. And in the study teaching the Japanese language, we can't ignore the fact of widely using words so-called loan words or borrowings. So at present time we are witnessing a new wave of borrowings and loan expressions. And since there has been an increased international cooperation among many countries in different regions in the world during the past decade, new political and economic organizations and associations have been formed. So, as a result, there has been the need in adoption of some common terminology, common designations of different realities of the integration process. And this is the reason why such kind of international terminology came into use in the Japanese language as well, and such renewed terminology is also there is also a need to teach such a new terminology, and as a result, the process of negotiating and business dealing between people of different nations has been significantly simplified. So, the training of translation skills, teachers should pay much attention to training translation skills, using as much the renewed terminology as possible. And here is just the main, not the main, just a list, maybe not complete list of some new terminology and borrowings in the Japanese, and without, for example, knowing how to use it correctly in the context. It's sometimes it's very difficult to build up a dialogue between Japanese and other nations, and also if some terminology terms or some names are used incorrect, it may lead to misunderstanding in the meaning. Yeah. And the last point I'd like to draw attention is the translation of fiction which also takes an important place of teaching in foreign language. And one of the problems of teaching the translation of fiction is that, for example, the bare knowledge of foreign language as it is not enough, and is not enough for an adequate translation. And it's also necessary to understand the cultural, historical, and other contexts. And working on translation of fiction text means philological comprehension of text and understanding of stylistic factors of linguistic expressions as well. So it's also almost impossible to translate correctly the idea of a foreign without knowing the linguistic features such as phraseological units, fixed expressions, idioms, speech styles, which is very important in case of Japanese, and also features of male and female way of speaking, proper and geographical names, and etc. and others. So professional translators should not only be proficient in a foreign language, but also sufficiently erudite in the field of history, ethnography, culture, geography, and as well, erudite in some specifics of everyday routine life of the Japanese people. Thus, working with fiction text can be used not only as a means of learning a language as it is, but also as an important tool for understanding, for better understanding the culture and the mentality of other people as well.
And can I see your conclusion for being the Q&A, because we're kind of
yes.
short on time.
Yeah,
so,
thank you. That is
Our next presenters today are Robert J. Lowe and Luke Lawrence from Tokyo Keisei University and Yokohama City University, respectively. And their title of their presentation